We have present myself, Ms. DeSanto, Ms. Aruda, Mr. Parker, and Mr. Trent for the board, so we still have our quorum. And we're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance, and I see that Sarah's in the boardroom and she's got the flag showing, so let's just do it all together. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Emergency evacuation procedures. Sarah and everybody else in the boardroom, you should be very familiar with the exit signs. Make sure you get out safely. And remember that we have a smoke-free environment, all buildings and all parts of our campus. Our board consent agenda is to approve item C1, C2, and the treasurer's report C3. Is there a motion to approve C1 through C3?
Move.
Mr. Parker, second by Ms. Aruda. Any discussion or questions? All in favor? You can raise your hand if I can see everybody. I don't see Ms. DeSanto or Mr. Trent. Are you voting in favor?
Yes.
Yes, you both are. Okay. Yeah. Put your hand closer to your head, Cameron, because you're on. There you go. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Next we have superintendent's report.
Yes, thank you. I hope everyone had a safe and restful few days over the past Memorial Day weekend. I also hope that everyone took my recommendation and shut off their computers and put down their packets and took some time for their own social emotional wellness. With June beginning next week and the school year coming to an end, I would like to announce our plan regarding the instruction and non-instructional days in June as well. So on all of our June Fridays, that's the 5th, 12th, 19th, and the 26th, we're going to designate them as Field Day Fridays. Typically, our schools hold field days during those dates, and we have designated those as Field Day Fridays. So on those days, no new assignments or work can be given on Fridays in June. However, all faculty and staff will be available online. In addition, our physical education staff are developing virtual field day activities to go on our continuity of learning page, so families will be able to go on and pick some activities if they so choose to do that. The last school week in June, the 22nd through the 26th, want to be designated as K-12 review and rate week. Also, no new assignments or work will be given during this final week in June. However, again, all faculty and staff will be available online. This will give our faculty a chance to review and rate all the information and materials that our students have been doing over the last couple of months, and also give our students a chance to catch up on any activities that and work that they may need to do. And then finally, in addition, for K-5 students, no new assignments or work will be given on Thursday, June 18th, as that is the date that students and staff will be participating in moving up activities. Again, faculty and staff will be available online, and of course, on all of these days, our remote learning site will be open for business. And that is all the update that I have, President Hayes.
Could you comment on the moving up ceremonies for our younger students? And
They're not
without divulging any surprises, but, you know, who's working on them, and, you know, will there be something for each grade, or just the grades that are leaving the school to move up to a new school?
Sure, I'll comment very briefly and around the edges. So administration is working on the moving up activities for our students. The moving up is only for the transition grades, so it's going to be pre-K, third grade, pre-K to K, third grade 4, fifth grade to 6, eighth grade to 9th. So those are the moving up dates. Dates I think I announced a couple of meetings ago. Those dates will all occur and have been sent out to parents. The specific activities have not been sent to parents yet, so I do not want to divulge that. There will be similar to car parades through the buildings. So social distancing is occurring. But I think it will, given the circumstances, I think it's going to be nice. And it's going to have a little twist than you typically saw at you were always moving up to. You just got a certificate, shook a hand, and then sat back down. So I think it'll be nice for our kids and also our staff.
Thanks for overseeing planning this.
Okay. Well, it was really our principals that did the work. I just, like you said, oversaw. And that is all the update or report that I have for you. I know you all know that we are going to begin our Board Advisory Committee meetings again. So soon you will get the report once again when we come back to our meetings. And those meetings, I believe, are next week, right? I think most of them are coming next week.
Christine, are you still on? Because you seem to be frozen in the frame on my...
Can you hear me?
Okay, thank you. Next, we have trustee and advisory committee reports, and so Dr. Gianni's already told us to be on the lookout for the scheduled advisory committees.
Yeah, so the board, I'm sorry to interrupt, we're planning 4 o'clock for those meetings.
Okay.
So we're going to be on those dates on 4 o'clock. Invites will go out. I think the plan, as I recall, is I'm going to be sending a Zoom out for those meetings, and then opening it up for the particular central office person, and then letting them conduct the meeting. So I think that's the plan right now.
Okay.
Yeah, those invites can go out sooner than later so that everyone is aware of it, because I don't know if all the committee members know, besides, the board members, but so that the committee members do know, and can plan accordingly.
Okay, good point. Ready?
I'm sorry, go ahead, Dr. Gianni.
Oh, go ahead, if you have reports, let the board go
I
forward.
was going to ask if any trustee has a report to make. I don't see anybody.
I have one thing.
Okay.
A lot of the community members told me that they really thought the social emotional day was a good idea, and a lot of them give positive feedback about that.
Oh, that's great. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you for that. Next are items for discussion where,
So we got a couple, and really not one. The first one is not much discussion. So our first item this afternoon is introduction of our 2021 board education candidates. As the board knows, we have 2 candidates running for 2 vacant seats beginning July 1, 2020 and running through June 30th, 2023. They are Cheryl Police and Jean Ancona. Typically at this meeting, we invite them to the public session and introduce them to the public. But as a result of this pandemic, nothing is typical. So we are not doing that personal touch as we have in the past. However, the PTA has created and recorded the introduction of the candidates in a YouTube video that they have posted on their webpage, so you can meet the candidates virtually. I have provided the link right here for the board, and my comments, I believe I have also placed in public session, so the public can see those comments as well and hit that link as well. I don't know if anyone else had any comments with regard to our candidates and that item.
You were breaking up a little bit. Did you say it's the PTA or the BTA that did the recording?
The PT, the parent teachers.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any questions on that? Okay, I'm gonna move to item 2. Our next item this afternoon is the 2020-21 budget hearing presentation. And making the presentation this afternoon is Ms. Costa. Welcome, Ms. Costa. You can get started as soon as I'm done speaking. The presentation is to public, and similar to the way I did it last time, you can pull it up on board docs, and Ms. Costa will speak and walk along. Welcome.
Thank you, thank you. Well, welcome everyone to the budget hearing for the 2021 proposed budget for the South Country Central School District. Again, I'll remind everyone, as Dr. Gianni said, the presentation is in public in board docs, so everyone can follow along, and I'll talk our way through in each of the slides. So the budget hearing presentation is dictated by law, so we have to do a budget hearing for the public once the board has adopted the budget. And the budget must be presented in a 3-part format. So now if we all move to the second slide. The 3 parts of the budget that are required by law to be presented in a very specific format are the administrative, the capital, and the educational or the programmatic sections of the budget. And we're going to talk about each of those sections. Next slide, we're going to slide 3. On slide 3, we're showing the legally required 3-part budget. On the left, you see the 2019-20 budget that was voted on by the taxpayers, and on the right, you see the 2021 budget that you, the board, adopted, and that is being proposed to the public for vote. The total of the 19-20 budget was $134,600,063, and the budget that we're proposing is $138,330,714. That is an increase of $3,730,651. And we're actually going to speak about each of these components, the administrative, the programmatic, and the capital components of the budget in detail. So we're moving on to slide 4 now. In slide 4, we're looking at the administrative component of the budget. In the administrative component, these are all of the areas of operation that support the educational program in the district. They include Board of Education, administration, the business office, legal, our human resource office, and all the support in the buildings, principals, and oversight accordingly. The administration budget for 1920 was $15,071,806. And in 2021, we're proposing $15,644,483,000. That's an increase of $572,597. And the primary increase in that whole component is related to benefits and contractual obligation increases. And in the next slide, slide 5, we're going to look at a visual component of the administrative component of the 3-part budget. The administrative component in 1920, again, was $15,071,886, and that represented 11.2% of our total budget. And in 2021, the board adopted, and we're bringing forth to the public, an administrative component that's $15,644,483, and that represents 11.31% of the total budget. Moving on to the next slide, which is the capital component of the budget. The capital component of the district budget consists of operations and maintenance of our buildings and our plants and the related debt service that we have outstanding on our buildings. So for the 1920 capital component of our budget, it was $19,344,178. We're proposing in 2021, $19,501,401, and that's an increase of $157,223, which is primarily made up of benefits and contractual increases, offset by a reduction in our debt service for this year. If we continue on to slide 7, we're looking at a visual representation of the capital component. Again, in 1920, the capital component represented 14.37% of the total district budget. And in 2021, the capital component represents 14.1% of our total proposed budget. Moving along to the largest part of our whole budget, which is the program or educational component of the budget on slide 8. This basically represents everything that touches children. Classroom, opportunities for children, on the fields and clubs, and all the transportation related to getting our children to the buildings. That's the educational component. In 1920, we operated with $100,183,999. In 2021, we're proposing a budget of $103,184,830. That's an increase of $3,831. And the increase in this area is primarily related to benefits and contractual increases. The next slide, slide 9, shows the visual representation of that part of the budget. Again, in 1920, the program part of our budget represents 74.43% of our total budget. And in 2021, it represents 74.59% of our total budget. Now, we've spent the last 9 slides looking at the expenditure side of the budget. We're now going to move forward and look at the revenues that support the expenses in our budget. So the next slide, slide 10, is our tax levy. And the tax levy limit calculation that we spoke on early in the budget development process is dictated by law. And the tax levy, the tax cap, as people say, and the tax levy limit is a 9-step calculation dictated by law. And for us, the allowable tax levy increase is 2.11%, or $1,315,219. On the next slide, slide 11, we report to the state education department on the levy, and this is how we do it through the mechanism called the property tax report card. And this gets filed at the state level. You tell the state what your budget is for 1920 and what you're proposing in 2021. And then everything underneath that says what you're doing with your levy. What is your allowable levy? And are you staying within the allowable levy, which means you need a simple majority vote. And we are staying within the tax levy limit, and this property tax report card is on file with the state. In our next slide, slide 12, this is a summary of all of our revenue sources. We just spoke about the tax levy, and that's the first item. It represents the largest revenue source in our budget, $63,555,904. And after that, we go down with our other sources. State aid is the next largest component of our budget, $58,014,445. This particular year has been very interesting on the state aid front. There's been a lot of activity, and it's been like no others, just like the pandemic has been like no others. Our revenue source for the 2020 budget for state aid represents the last known information that we have from the state on state aid information. And in addition to that, we have pilot payments, and pilot payments represent payments in lieu of taxes. These are commercial properties that have come off our tax roll and negotiate deals with either the county or the towns to pay different tax amounts than they would have if they were on the tax rolls. We have about $8 million in pilot payments for our district. We've decided to appropriate $4 million of our fund balance to next year's budget. And the fund balance appropriation and the use of reserves underneath it for $1,550,000 are a representation of good fiscal management in years past that we're able to appropriate and use reserves and definitely use them during this time period. I would like the board to know and the public to know that the use of reserves this year for the district involve 4 different areas. We're using the workers' comp reserve, the employees' retirement system reserve, the teachers' retirement system reserve, and the debt service reserve that we have. And the total for equal to $1,550,000. And we also have miscellaneous revenues for the district of $3,318,000. The sum of all those revenue sources equal $138,330,713, which is also the exact total of the budget that we're sending forward on the expenditure side. So our revenues equal our expenditures. If we go to the next slide, slide 13, we'll see a visual representation of our revenue. Our tax levy actually represents 46% of all our revenue sources. State aid represents about 42% of our revenue sources. And the remaining sources of revenue are about 12% of our revenue sources in the district. Moving along, the budget hearing is always a good time to look at the ways that the district is a good steward for taxpayer dollars. And we do that by containing costs and reviewing things. It's a good time to review what we do. At the district, we evaluate all expenditures, building and district level when we build a budget. And after the budget's built, we have a claims auditor appointed by the board, and that person reviews every single check that leaves the district to make sure that not only met the requirements of law, but that we were a good steward and had best pricing for the district. And we competitively price everything that we do with the district. And how do we do that? For service-related items, we go out for requests for proposals. When we're buying goods or products, we use best value contracts. We piggyback off of other agency contracts. We participate in BOCE's, a bidding service that they offer. We use New York State contract pricing. We actually use county contracts, and we do cooperative purchasing agreements here at the district. In addition to all those items, we also have memberships that allow us to realize the best use of taxpayer dollars. And some of the memberships that we're part of is the New York State Insurance Reciprocal. We are grouped together with many districts in the state of New York, and we pool our risk for our property and casualty insurance needs. And that allows us to know one loss to impact a district that dramatically, and it allows us to buy in bulk. So we participate in the New York State Insurance Reciprocal and two different commodity reciprocals, the New York State Fuel Cooperative and the Suffolk County Natural Gas Co-op. Both of those are items that we tap for heating our schools and running our buses. And that allows us to get great prices on some of those commodities that we use. What else do? We actively seek grants to fund our district programs or to supplement our district programs in the district. We look to refinance some of our debt that might be out there as a district. We did it recently, and we'll be doing it again this year, just reviewing where we are, because rates are at historic lows, so we'll be reviewing again any outstanding debt the district has. Another items we do that make us good stewards of taxpayer dollars is we ensure we have well-funded reserves. That we're always employing good fiscal management practices. We're looking for new revenue sources, and we are always looking at efficiencies. Can we do more with what we have? All right, so moving along. Now we're going to look at the impact of our budget on the homeowner and of South Country Central School District. So the homeowners in South Country School District are also participate in the STAR program, and that's a state level program. It stands for New York State Tax Relief Program. There are two components of the STAR program that impact our homeowners, the basic STAR and the enhanced STAR. The basic STAR program is available to all homeowners, and you either receive a reduction in the assessed value related to your school taxes or a tax credit. Actually, the tax credit is a new part of the STAR law. And if you are newly applying for a STAR, you're only eligible for a tax credit, and you get that on your New York State tax return that you file at the end of the year, like you do with your 1040 form for the federal government. You get that at that time. And the Enhanced STAR program is available to our homeowners who are over 65 years old who meet income eligibility requirements. So down below, there's a table that shows that the average STAR resident in South Country Schools receives reduced taxes of $429.91 due to the STAR program, and we have 3,631 households who are currently participating in the basic STAR program. In our Enhanced STAR program, we have 785 households, and they have reduced school taxes of $965.27. Moving on from the STAR program, let's look at how our budget is going to impact the average homeowner in South Country Schools, and that's on slide 16. Based upon our levy and what we're proposing as our budget, the average home is assessed at $2,605, and that's per the Town of Brookhaven Assessor's Office. And that means that the average homeowner in South Country School District will see an annual increase related to the 2021 proposed budget of $128.79. And it will be specific based on your actual assessed value, but we always compare it to the average assessed value in the district. Moving along. Now we're going to talk about what happens if the budget is actually defeated on June 9th. And what happens? Well, at this point in time, due to the pandemic, and that we've been in a most unusual time, the governor's executive orders has not provided any revote information. But just for a point of reference, that in a normal year, a non-pandemic year, we would have an ability to put a second vote out to our public, and that you could either put a second budget out to your public, or go straight to contingency budget. Either one is a possibility, but you're allowed an opportunity for a second vote. We do not know what will happen, and there's been no word from the state if the budgets go down on June 9th. But now it's a time to speak about what our contingency budget looks like for South Country schools. Basically, contingency budget limits the district to a 0% increase in the tax levy. So whatever we levy for the 1920 school year, that would be our limit for the 2021 school year. For us, that would be, in addition to the budget that you saw tonight presented, an additional $1,315,219 cut to our budget. That would be a very difficult cut for South Country. So as we move along, let's talk about the unusual nature of the vote this year on the last slide. So the voting for 2021, like nothing we've ever seen, for both the budget and the trustee, will be by absentee ballot only. We are in the process of mailing out those 18,000 ballots that are going to our residents. Those ballots will be returned. Any ballot returned and received by the district by 5 p.m. on June 9th will be counted, and then we will announce the results of the election. So that is the legally required budget hearing for the South Country Central School District for the 2021 budget. Thank you.
Any questions for Ms. Costa? Oh, you did a marvelous. Oh,
I have one question, just to clarify. The budget that was approved at our last meeting and that you presented here tonight is within the tax levy cap, isn't it?
Yes, it is. We need a simple majority vote to pass the budget.
Thank you.
okay, thank you, Ms. Costa.
Thank you.
Okay, shall I move on to curriculum consent items, Ms. Hayes?
Yes, please do.
Okay, moving on to curriculum, administration recommends approval of curriculum items reflected in items G1 through 2.
Okay, is there a motion to approve items G1 and G2? Ms. Aruda, second. Ms. Santo, any questions or discussion? There being none, all in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, the 5 trustees all voted in favor of approving that. Thank you.
And moving on to personnel, the administration recommends approval of personnel changes reflected in items H1 through H3.
We have a motion, please, for items H1 through, to approve items H1 through H3. Mr. Parker made the motion. Is there a second? Do I have, oh, Mr. Trent, any questions or discussions?
Just real quick, I'm sorry, did you see me in?
Yes,
Real quickly on the additional work, that we have, actually I have two comments, but, the additional work, for our summer school for all of our students will take place through remote learning?
Yes, that is the plan.
Okay, and even, I noticed that we had, areas for special education, so our special education program that we will have will all take place through remote learning.
Planning to move forward with remote learning with both, yes.
Okay, I just wanted to let the public know that the special education will take place for that as well. And secondly, on items H1, it is my hope that we are able to reinstate individuals as sooner than later.
Yes, and we're hopeful that we'll get some additional retirements that may be able to have that.
I would just be remiss if I did not say that publicly.
No, good, it's a good point.
Any further questions or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of approving items H1 through H3, please raise your hand. I don't see Mr. Parker. Okay, all 5 trustees have voted to approve those.
And moving on to business items, administration recommends approval of business items reflect schedules I1 through I3.
Is there a motion to approve items I1 through I3? I don't see it. Okay, Mr. Kent.
Just a point of order here, I think we need a roll call vote on I2.
On number 2, that's correct. So let's,
Without, let me, since you
we
don't have.
don't have the motion made, so it's, we can go back and we will do, items I1 and I3, and then do the roll call separately. So now, can I get a motion to approve items I1 and I3?
I make a motion.
Mr. Santo made the motion, Mr. Trent seconded it. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of approving items I1 and I3, please raise your hand. Okay, all trustees are in favor. That is approved. Now we'll take item I2, and that will be a roll call vote. Let's make the motion first. The motion would be to approve items item I2. And Mr. Trent, are you making that motion? Or I'm having trouble seeing.
I don't see anybody make a motion.
Anybody making a motion to approve items I2? And that, okay, Mr. Santo. And is there a second? Is there a second to?
Mr. Trent, second.
He did?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So questions or discussion? And now we'll take the roll call. Is Sarah going to do that?
I can do
Yeah.
that. Ann, can you hear me?
Right.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll do the roll call and then we're.
You'll do the roll call?
Okay, and they'll record the votes.
They're aware. Okay, Mr. Ruda,
Yes.
Mr. Santo,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Trent. Mr. Trent.
Cameron, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm very delayed, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yes. And Ms. Hayes.
Yes.
And that let the record show Mr. Vicini and Mr. Nix are not in attendance.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, that's all that we have this afternoon. Ms. Hayes?
Okay, any closing remarks by anybody? Well, I want to thank everybody for their patience in working through some of the new ways that we're having to meet and getting used to the technologies, and I'm very appreciative of the assistance of my other board members and also the technology staff in central office with regard to the Zoom meetings and getting everything set up today. So, wishing everybody some good times, some fresh air, and good health. And we'll wait to see each other again by the next meeting, if not before.
I'd make that motion to close the meeting.
Yeah, that's your signature motion. Is there a second? Mr. Parker? All in favor of adjourning the meeting? Okay, it's unanimously approved. So thank you, everyone.
Be well, everyone.
And they will,
Bye-bye.
So, call you tomorrow, Dr. Yanni?